What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be fooling around with a title we played a couple of months ago, 3 to 4 months ago, called Below the Stone. This is a game that's playing around with extraction shooter mechanics and trying to combine them with something like Nuclear Throne and a progressive element that mirrors something like Core Keeper or Terraria. And so obviously this is going to be one of those games that I think jumps out to somebody like me as a potential sandbox game that I could play for a really, really long time. For those of you that may not know what those references exactly mean or may not have played all of those games, effectively Below the Stone is a game about a dwarf. You create him at the beginning of the title. You go down deep into the mines with missions in mind. You can see those up in the top left. So people from Dwarvish society, they have different requests. You know, they want the skin of a bat. They want you to go mine them 25 tin ore or something like that. And you, like the good little bearded mercenary that you are, you go down below the surface to knock out these quests and make that stuff happen in order to earn your living. However, there's a catch. Nobody has ever mapped the mines down below, and they are constantly shifting around and changing. So if you die down there, you lose all of the loot that you've managed to extract so far, along with all of your equipment that you have on your character, and you gotta start over with nothing. However, the game is going to help you out with a few mechanics like having storage, having a bank, having things like that where you can manufacture more backup sets of gear and things of that nature in order to guarantee that death is not necessarily quite so catastrophic. This game is now out in the point 1 of its early access, and that means it's time for you and I to take a look at the game with a weather eye and try to figure out whether or not this is the right game for you, whether or not it's something you wanted to add to your wish list or otherwise pass on. If after watching this game you did want to get it for yourself, the game's about 20 bucks. It's on Steam right now. I will say that the early access is definitely early on. There's not like a ridiculous ton of content here from what I've seen so far. In the last 3 or 4 hours of playing the game, it feels like they've got the basics in, you know what I mean? They've got the basic progressive elements in, that is to say you move from tin to copper to iron to so on and so forth. You upgrade your gear, the quests get a little bit harder. It seems like they've got a couple of biomes in, it seems like they have a couple of randomized events in, and a couple of random things that can happen while you're inside of the dungeon and spawn while you're just kind of cruising through procedurally, but by and large this is very much a work in progress. So anyways, the link is down below. You can take a look there if you wanted to look at the game just kind of in printed format, or if you wanted to buy the game, or if you wanted to look at that game and be like, no! And then throw it against the wall because you don't want it at all. Those are all valid outcomes to this video. Down there where the link is for the game, you'll also find a link to my Discord and my Twitch stream. I will be live the day before Thanksgiving, so the day that this video goes live, I will be streaming this title for about 6 hours, so definitely check out the Twitch link, go follow. I'll go ahead and I'll ping the Discord when I go live, but you're more than welcome to join me there. So what am I up to inside the dungeon right now? Well, it's pretty simple, just mining, just doing what a dwarf does. I haven't been able to exactly figure out what all this stuff is useful for, but I do need a lot more coal, and I do need a lot more copper and tin and stuff like that. And so my current mission is to kill 5 medium slimes, to kill 5 or 6 bats, and then also, oh, apparently I can't mine that guy right there. Wonder if it's something special, I guess? I don't know. I can't mine that little block right there, so it must be something better than iron, because I can mine iron with my current gear set. I've got to slay some bats, and then I've got to kill some small green slimes while I'm down here, which should be pretty simple because when you kill the medium slimes, a whole bunch of small slimes spawn. So as long as we keep a weather eye out and we start finding all these slimes in the areas that they might be in, we should be good. I don't know if this, so I started digging this tunnel hoping that I would find something out here, but I don't know that I'm going to find something out here. Map gen in this game is kind of like, I wouldn't call it hit or miss, but there's definitely an intended path that the proceduralism wants you to walk on. And I have found that if you like dig a shaft like this one way off to the side of the intended path, it feels pretty unlikely that you're gonna find anything. So my initial advice would be just kind of stay inside the main cavern that they give you and just kind of, hey, there's a big slime right there. He should become the medium slimes that we need to get out of here. Okay, well, he became one of the slimes that I need to get out of here. We still got to find one more. Hitboxes in this game. One of my early observations. Hitboxes in this game, little bit hit or miss. I think they could definitely use some tightening up. I can't say exactly why that is, but I think it has to do with different weapons have different variable range, but most of them seem to have the same sized white swish when you swing them. Which ultimately, in a lot of nuclear throne or repitendium-styled games, typically the white swish is actually an AoE that damages enemies. In this game, not the case. Your attack can actually extend further out than the swish, and it can also be further in than the swish based on the stats of the weapon, which means that the swish is largely just kind of like visual accompaniment that doesn't really like need to be there. I would definitely recommend they take a look at the hitboxes for the weapons, because right now the combat feels a little bit weightless and a little bit off to me, and frequently, having been trained by a million games like this previously. Oh my god. Okay, so there's a cave-in. I've been trained by a million Nuclear Throne clones throughout the course of my career that the white swish actually deals damage, and so the white swish not dealing damage in this game definitely feels a little bit off by comparison to its contemporaries. And so that would be the first big thing that I would look at with this game if I was the developer, is just ultimately the hit zones feel very odd for both the player and for, like, the bad guys. You will frequently see, for example, your white swish. It seems like the enemy gets iframes as well, so that you can't, like, hit them back to back. I would get rid of that too. The player should be the only one that ever gets iframes in a video game. If the game needs to maintain some requisite level of difficulty, just increase the mob density. People love mob density. The proof that I will point at right now in the pudding is the existence of an entire genre of games called Bullet Heavens, where there is nothing but mobs to destroy, and the entire screen becomes mobs. So my recommendation would be just take a look at the hitboxes, tighten those up, get those feeling a little bit better, and then on top of that, also increase enemy density and remove the iframes that some of the mobs seem to have, because having your weapon, you go up to combo like an enemy, and the first attack counting and then the next two passing right through them doesn't feel super great as far as tactile gameplay goes. Oh, there's a dungeon right here. Nice. So the game does have random events and random locations that can show up. You've no doubt noticed that we've finished off our mission here. We actually don't have a mission to do at the moment. We can call the drop pod at any time and we can get extracted if we want to do so. However, there are other things to explore in the dungeons. Like, you can go further and further down. There will be randomly generated areas that you could adventure inside of. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, there goes all my health. All right, so what we're going to do then, these guys respawn, by the way, so don't get in over your head fighting these guys. They're also pretty aimbotty, and there's no, like, dodge that you can do in this game, and the knockback is pretty severe from getting hit. So range guys can actually be like a big liability. You can sometimes kill them through the wall, Jankfest style, like that right there. But at the same time, this would probably be a case where they want to lower the aimbottiness of the shooters. Add some kind of dodge roll for the player would also be really, really nice for making things better. That way you can time it out. Maybe give the range guys a little flash before they fire, so that then you could use the dodge roll to get away from them. But anyways, the knockback on hits is one of those things that's actually particularly gnarly in this game. And you can't swing after you've been hit, which means you just got to stand there and get hit more. Does this thing break right here? It looks like it wants to break, but I don't know if it's gonna break. We're pretty beat up right now, so let me retreat out of the dungeon real fast. And I think we may not be ready for this one yet. I think they're respawning at a rate that's faster than I can kill them. So let me go ahead and eat everything that I have on board right now. I've already taken all of my health potions. I've already gone through and I've eaten a lot of my food. So I think maybe we just extract at this point instead of going in and trying to get ourselves swamped by maybe a room that we can't handle. The downside is that this has been a little bit of a non-productive run. We may want to stay in a little while longer just to see if we can locate maybe something like some copper ore to take back up to the surface with us. I think I still have copper. I think my principal problem was actually that I didn't have any coal back at base. See, in between runs, you go back to the Dwarf City, and there's a bunch of different vendors and stuff like that. If you've ever played anything like Darkest Dungeon, or you've ever played anything like Escape from Tarkov, or Marauders, or Cycle Frontier, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here. The references are fairly obvious. Yeah, it looks like it goes in pretty deep right there. And it looks like it's blocking off a big chunk of the dungeon, too. Let me go off to the right and see what we got happening here. It does look like there's another shaft off to the right. Yeah, I think that'll work. Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. Okay, yeah, that's a lot of range fire. Never mind then. I'm gonna bail on out. These guys are just like with the knockback and everything, dude. Like the knockback and the stun lock. It's just not worth it. I gotta go. Like I'm gonna get stun locked to death right here. And so let's get on out of here. I would recommend get rid of that huge Metroidvania style knockback that the player gets when they get hit too. Especially since it locks you out of moving your character or taking any kind of action. Doesn't feel good in gameplay, unfortunately. Let me see if I can scrounge up enough mushrooms in order to get my health back up for the finale, because when we hit the button and the escape pod comes out here, it's going to be one of those things where we have to hold our ground for like 100 seconds while enemies just like flood on in. And so I want to make sure I at least have decent health before I do that. You can use some of this stuff to make better potions and things of that nature, but I haven't found any of the blue mushrooms yet. I've been playing for 3 or 4 hours and I have not seen a single blue mushroom, and blue mushrooms are required for making health potions. So unfortunately, I've just been kind of getting by restoring 3 HP at a time or 5 HP at a time by eating mushrooms because I haven't really found the means to consistently make health potions for myself yet. There is an alchemist back at town that allows you to do that, but you know, you need the blue mushrooms, and unfortunately, only red mushrooms to be found right now. I suppose this will have to do. I guess we kind of are where we are. Let's hit that big red button and see if we can get out of here. So once we stand inside the evac zone, it's going to tick upwards for 100%, and then the drop pod's going to show up, and we're going to have to, like, survive never-ending waves of agitated spiders, critters, other little things like that in order to get to the end of it. Now, there is kind of like a trade-off here. Normally these mobs that we're fighting would drop loot. They don't drop loot while you're fighting them in the finale, unfortunately. I'm guessing that people were like in alpha or something, were using beta, or they were using the extraction to kind of like farm tons and tons and tons of goods. I don't know. Man, those hitboxes are generous for the enemies, dude. They're really generous. Alright, well, let's just stay away from him, and hopefully we can kind of like ride our way out of here. When the pod gets here, it's going to kill everything. We'll hop on into the pod, and then we are up and out of here. Descent completed. We made a little bit of money for completing our job. For every job that you stack up, you also get an increased bonus when you get back to town. It's nothing too crazy. It's usually just like a little bit of money and then some kind of item. So we got a helmet right there, I guess. I've never seen actually a helmet come through. Is the helmet any good? It's got 4 resistance on it? Hell yeah. Go ahead and put that on my character. As you can tell, you do get to customize your dwarf before you start the game. There is customizability fully programmed on into the game. A number of different beards, a number of different hairstyles, things like that. There's not a huge amount of them just yet in the current build. I would like to see that customization expanded, but for now, there's enough to where you can make your dwarf kind of somewhat look like you. Welcome to town. Here in town, there are a number of different people. There's the mage. There's the goblin. The goblin has kind of like randomized loot, I guess. So the goblin just has random stuff. You never quite know what the goblin's going to have, but the goblin is one of those things where if you die and you don't have any resources to craft new gear, that's why you hold on to your money and you don't spend it on stuff willy-nilly, is because buying your way out of a hole is a good way to save yourself. And we've also got the explorer over here. He's just got like lore and stuff that he talks about. We've got the alchemist on this side. She will allow you to do whatever. You can make healing potions. You can make buff potions. You can make potions that give you combat bonuses, things like that. As of right now, I don't know if these guys like ever rank up. So if you look at like Tarkov, for example, they rank up and they get more stuff as time goes along because you earn favor with them by doing their jobs. I don't know if Marauders has a mechanic like that, but Cycle Frontier also had a mechanic like that where the various corporations you could work for ranked up and got better and better loot that you could just buy from a shop instead of having to find it inside of a run. This side is where we have the blacksmith, and this is where you're going to see some fairly familiar gameplay mechanics. This is where Terraria comes in. This is where you're gathering up all the ore nodes and things from down beneath the surface, and you are using them to craft stuff that's going to keep you safe as you dive deeper and deeper down into the dungeon. So for right now, we still need like some shoulder pads. It looks like we probably could use quite a few more crossbow bolts as well. I don't have like that much wood remaining though for like bullets, so it's kind of hard to call. I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably just finish off my copper set because we have enough stuff to do it. So I'll just make the gloves real fast, and I'll make the shoulder pads real fast. And we'll throw those on just for the extra, like, 2 defense, actually. That'll probably be helpful because we were getting blitzed by those dudes down in the dungeon, like the guys that were spamming arrows at us and whatnot. With that big knockback, dude, that was a mess. So if there's some kind of, like, set bonus for getting rid of knockback or some kind of potion that gets rid of it, that would also be ideal. This is my stash. This is where I have all my extra stuff. It just kind of lays around in here. I've got, like, extra axes, extra armor. Just in case I die, it's not a bad idea to have those things in there. Unfortunately, inventory space has been a little tiny bit limited, I guess. Maybe it's just because I'm a pack rat and I like to hold on to lots of things. But the good news there is you can just make your stash larger, and there's many, many tabs. I'm hoping the amount of tabs and the amount of slots actually correlate with the amount of items that the game is going to have in sort of like a finalized build. That would be rad as hell, but that'll be just speculation. We'll have to wait and see on that front. The good news about that last run is that I got a lot of coal. We have a ton of coal. So we should be in pretty good shape for smelting now. What we really need to do is we need to go down into the dungeon and we need to seek out some iron. We got unlucky on that last run that a dungeon blocked off kind of the natural progression of the proceduralism, and the dungeon was a little bit too hard for us. I've never seen carbomite ore in my life, so I guess I'll take it. This is a mining operation, so we'll probably run into a lot of bats and a lot of other ores, so we'll give it a go. You pick your shots in this game, so you pick the quest that you want to go for. My advice is always to have an easy quest and 2 hard quests. The reason why I say that, just from a tactical perspective, is that the easy quest you can call the pot as long as you finished 1 job. That means you can do the easy job real quick, get your big red button, and then you can go take on the harder quests, and you can just evac on the spot if you need to. So that's the way that I've been doing my business lately when it comes to diving down into dungeons, but you can play it however you would like. We got some fossils over here. There will be shinies inside the walls. Just watch out. Sometimes the shinies, they are cave-ins. The cave-in graphic is still, it was pretty rough the last time I played the game to figure out what you were getting hit by. I still think, so they've changed the graphic, and the graphic is better from when we played the demo, but it still needs work. It still feels like sometimes it's really hard to see what hit you while you're digging through the mine out here. Oh, we found the stone biome, eh? Is that our carbomite? Oh, it is. That's our carbomite. And in fact, it looks like we got more than half of it just from the first node that we hit. Talk about a good luck streak. All right. Well, if we can ever find our way back to a cavern here, we can have a look around. And I think my goal here is probably just to follow the path into the stone biome. And I think I'm just going to wander for a little bit, you know, wander, that whole thing. We're going to keep on wandering until I start seeing iron, because that's really the next upgrade for me. And I'm still taking so much damage from, like, arrows and things of that nature that I need to increase my defense. I don't think there's going to be any real progression until I can soak hits a little bit better with the generosity of some of the enemy hitboxes and their ability to aim and not having like a dodge roll or like a shield block or anything else like that. So that means when required to face tank, I should like my face to be especially tanky. However, I am seeing a pretty big drop in the amount of damage that I'm taking from the slimes right here, so that's going to be a good thing as well. Maybe if we get really lucky. Let me eat a night vision shroom real fast. You can eat various things that are laying around on the ground. I haven't seen anything yet that has a bad effect on my character. They have all had useful effects on my character. We're hitting copper now. That means if we go a little bit deeper, we should be able to find some iron. Maybe get going with some early iron gear. On the other hand, I also see some carbomite over here. So let's go ahead and maybe finish off our quest for the carbomite. Oh, we're 1 shy. That's okay. I wasn't planning on leaving yet anyways. The dungeon calls to me. Like a true dwarf, I just can't stand having sky over my head. Well, carbomite sorted out. So at least we've got 1 job done. I didn't really pick up any of the tin that I was supposed to pick up while I'm down in here anyways. But does it really matter? Is that tin right there? There we go. That'll count as tin. We're still kind of in tin territory. Perfect. That should get us locked down probably on the next node that we find. Enemy variety in this game seems to be okay for an initial build. I've seen bats, I've seen slimes, I've seen kobolds, I've seen skeletons. I haven't seen goblins or anything just yet. Is that a floor right there? That actually looks like somebody installed laminate or something over here. What is this? Oh, is it an old ruin? Nice, dude. Okay. Let's take a look at the ruin then. We got ourselves some treasure chests. From time to time, when you're cruising through this dungeon down here, you will find things. And, like, these are one of the rare locations where the player can actually get wood. I know, we live a woodless existence as a dwarf, but there will be rare localities that you can find, just sort of like these mini dungeons like we saw earlier, and they'll have lots of treasure chests in them. You can actually break the chest to get wood too, and they'll have crates and things. As you may have surmised, trees don't grow underground, and so getting access to wood is actually trickier than it looks in a game like this, and you need wood in order to make arrows and bolts and stuff like that for your ranged weaponry. So you get like shotguns and auto crossbows and stuff like that throughout the course of your adventures. Oh, what are those right there? Never seen those. I don't even know what those are. Sorry, I'm playing poorly right now. My cat is being disruptive. He's decided that right this second I need to stop what I'm doing and, you know, ruin my career by making a bad video to pay attention to him right this second, because nobody knows the troubles he feels and nobody knows his sorrows. What was that noise? Oh, God. Ow! Okay, yep, that was 35 damage. Let's go ahead and fall back for a second. I mean, I have 31 arrows. We can try to fight dude from a distance. I don't know if it's going to be, like, hyper successful. Oh, he, like, blocked me out of the room. Okay. I don't know about this guy. He hits really hard. I'm not super sure about this one. We might have to do some more gearing or something before this guy becomes a possibility. But it looks like this dungeon came with, like, a little mini-boss, which is kind of cool. I will say that that's something I have not seen during the preparation for this impressions video. Yeah, there we go. All better. Just got to eat some more potions. What I really want to know is, like, where are the blue mushrooms at? In the demo build that we played, they were all over the place. In this build, they seem much more difficult to track down. Spider cave, eh? Those are white mushrooms. Somehow I doubt that those are going to have the same effect that I'm looking for. If you want a piece of advice, kill anything in this game that has a ranged attack before you target anything else. That would be my advice. Oh my God, webs flying around everywhere. This is my nightmare. There's just so many spiders and things. On the plus side, there also seem to be a lot of bats in here. Oh, we've completed our quest. All right. Well, all of our jobs are done. At this point, we're just kind of on like an iron hunt. Oh my God. Okay, it's getting worse. They're so hoppy. Are they spawning? Oh, well, at least they know how to brew beer inside their weird little spider sacks. That's kind of cool. Honestly, it's spider season where I live right now. They're all ballooning everywhere. If you don't know what ballooning is, in California, we have spiders. They make little umbrellas, or they make little parachutes out of web, and they just fly around this time of year. The little babies do. And while they do that, they spread webs all over the place. So you'll just be walking down the street, and like 2 strands of web will cross over your face, and you'll just be like, "Nyeh." Or, like, you'll be dodging them constantly. It was worse a couple weeks ago. They were everywhere a couple weeks ago, but it seems to be dying down now. But I call it spider season, is where all the spiders, like, baby spiders, like, fly around and, like, put webs everywhere from, like, the stop sign to, like, a parked car, so you're constantly walking through webs. It's just like, ugh, there's no spider in the web. It's just like they're learning how to web, and so they just, like, build webs everywhere and then don't inhabit them. I would rather have these potatoes. These potatoes heal me for 10, which is much faster than healing for 5. Some would say twice as fast, but I'm no mathematician. The music changed, so I'm guessing we're in some kind of more threatening area, but I don't know. The music definitely got more sinister, did it not? Like, the music is definitely heavier right now. A little bit of copper right there. Still no iron, though. I'm beginning to wonder if this is by design, and we have no choice but to go through this dungeon, so I followed that path all the way down and around, and it was just a big giant loop back. And the loop back almost universally seems to lead back to this dungeon over here. And the dungeon seems to take up a considerable chunk of the generated map that we're supposed to be moving through. So I'm kind of wondering if this is intended, like you're supposed to run into this massive sprawling dungeon at some point and you like have to deal with it. Like there's no moving on unless you get through it. Either that or I'm just missing something. I don't know. We haven't seen any iron yet though, which is concerning. Definitely would prefer to be seeing some iron around. I'll definitely take some free treasures though. With these shooters over here, I'm just going to kill them with ranged weaponry because they're going to give me a supply of arrows anyways. And so it doesn't really matter if I use up the bolts and the arrows right now. And these chests are a really good opportunity for us to grab a little bit more cash or something else that might be useful around here. And if I can find my way out the other end of this dungeon, I have no doubt that we'll get ourselves a bunch of iron. It's just that the dungeon keeps getting in the way of my ambitions. On the plus side, I have a positively enormous amount of beer now, which is great, because beer heals you a whole bunch, so that'll be helpful. If I can find just like... Was that a blue mushroom? Dude, we found a blue mushroom. It was inside a chest. I finally found... Hey, I think we found our way through. Yeah, it may be the case that the dungeon just acts as like this gnarly thing that you have to conquer before you can get down to like deeper areas or something, maybe. I don't know. I'm having trouble telling if this floor tile is different from the last floor tile set that we were on. Looks like we do have another spider room over there. And, oh, yeah, we got another big spider room over here. All right. Well, you want to throw stuff? I'm going to throw stuff, too. It's only fair, dude. It's my divine right of throwing stuff. Hey, I think we found iron finally. Nice, dude. After all this walking and all of this gaming, we finally found some iron. Do I have like 2 stacks of tin on me, dude? I don't care about that at all. We'll go ahead. I just want to find iron now. Now that I know that iron is awaiting me in the wings, I want the iron real bad. There's a little more. Feed it to me. We're going to need a lot of it. Like, we're probably going to need like, I wouldn't say hundreds, but we're definitely going to need a fairly large stack. And now that we found this vein, I'm trying to make hay while the sun is shining. This entire trip was just for this, so like let's make sure we get a lot before we go, you know. I may have gotten in over my head. All right, this may be a bit of a situation. It feels as though there are a lot of things trying to hurt me right now. All I wanted was iron. That's all that I wanted out of this deal, and instead I got just like an infinite supply of spiders and kobolds who apparently get along. They've got some kind of peace treaty or something happening. Well, I kind of struck out on iron. We haven't found any more since I made the last edit, but what I did find is that if you break these little rocks on the ground, they give you 1. And honestly, that's been more effective than digging through the walls trying to find this stuff. We may just want to evac and get on out of here, so I'll go ahead and give you my thoughts, my first impressions of the game. I think the game's a good foundation. I think that's where I'm at with it. I think the game is a good foundation. There's obviously some things that are a little eyebrow-raising that I think need to get changed. The enemy hitboxes are too generous and unpredictable. The knockback on getting hit is much too comically large for a game like this that's supposed to be about managing large hordes of enemies. I think the combat would feel a lot better if they go back through and they figure out the hit zones for all the weapons and for all the enemies again. Try again, and then from there, get rid of the enormously large sort of Castlevania-style knockback and also stun whenever you get hit. I think the combat would feel a lot better and a lot less concatenated. I think as of right now, that's my main concern. From there, it would just be speculation as to what would make the game better, and for that, they're going to have to draw inspiration from other games of the type. I think the game is a little bit shallow right now in terms of, like, the number of mechanics there are for the player to interact with. So there's no progression element to the game. There's no leveling up. There's no RPG mechanics here. There's no leveling up your vendors from what I've seen so far in order to get access to new recipes or new things. It's just when you find that new resource, they just allow you to process it instantly, and it gets added on in. There's no personal quests for like the vendors and stuff like that with little running narratives and things that they're after down in the dark. But I do think that the core gameplay is solid. What we're looking at here is a very early access where they've got the bones in the right place. Now they got to get the muscles and the tendons and the meat and the brains and the everything else put into the game. But for the moment, I am reasonably happy with where it's sitting. We're going to play a little bit more. You are more than welcome to join me on twitch.tv, a place where I will be playing this game for 5 or 6 hours on the day that this video goes live. Once again, So swing through there, give it a follow. But I think they're in an okay place, and I think it's got a very charming animation style. I'll catch y'all tomorrow with something hot and fresh off the indie skillet. For right now, it's time for me to go. Take care, folks, and that's about all I've got. Bye.